Okay, stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And as a way of respecting, honoring, and creating awareness about our past, we begin our village board meetings by acknowledging that New Paltz is on the ancestral land of the Munsee, Esopus, and Lenape people. Please check out our agendas and minutes and help us add to our list of ways to, actually support Indigenous communities.
Some modifications to the consent agenda and business agenda. On the consent agenda, I need to add 4D. It's regarding payment for the reservoir project. Also need to remove number 5, that's going to be added on the business agenda, and number 9, approving the bid for the reservoir property project change order. On the business agenda, I'm going to add item number 2A and 2B regarding consolidation. And we're adding sidewalks on Prospect as an item. And for number 8, 4C, did I miss 4C?
I mean, yeah.
4C also needs to be added to the consent agenda. And number 10, authorize the treasurer in the consent agenda, number 10, to re-levy the unpaid water sewer balances onto the owner's real property taxes. See attached listing. Back to the business agenda. Adding number 13 that was removed from the consent agenda above regarding the community development block grant application. Item 14, discussion of May 2nd at Sandy New Paltz. Number 15, suggested social media disclaimer. 16, approve budget modifications. I move that we accept each of these agendas as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Announcements. Anyone from our board have announcements?
I have a few.
Or do we want to start with County Legislator Lamina Grace Harmon?
Oh, here, I mean, I see the new user here.
All right, we'll sort that out. So Alex, yep. Okay.
Okay. I'll buy you some time with my announcement. Okay, so Saturday, June 1st is the annual Pride March and Festival. There's calls for volunteers. We're setting the volunteer deadline for anybody who wants to help marshal for May 20th. So look out on social media for those volunteer links. Because we're going to be doing like a whole training for marshals, de-escalation training, Narcan training, and making sure all the marshals meet our New Paltz police officers in advance in order to make it the safest Pride in the world. And it'll be fun. And also Narcan and other harm reduction services continue to be available anywhere in Ulster County. It's Ellenville Regional's Project Rescue Program. I just tested it again the other day. So text ERH rescue to 21000 and they'll ask you what you need. They have Narcan, other harm reduction supplies like test kits, snort kits, and sex kits. The Never Use Alone hotline has an updated number. So please, if you haven't already, change it in your phone. It's 1-877-696-1996. You can also go to neverusealone.com to get more information. Of course, there's Narcan trainings available online always through the Office of Community Wellness. Go to opioidpreventionnp.org/Narcan-training. The free food fridge is available right outside Village Hall here at 25 Plattekill Avenue all this time. There's such a need for donations. Just make sure you label the ingredients and keep your donations to food. It does not accept clothing. And then finally, there's the Pride window painting, the first ever Pride Paint with Pride event is happening on May 30th from 4 to 7 p.m. And there's like a volunteer sign up that's going around on social media and on both village and town websites. And businesses are starting to hang the sign up form in their windows and stuff too. So keep an eye out for that, and we'll basically pride up our Main Street. That's it for me.
Any other announcements from village board members? There is our county legislator. Welcome.
Hello, friends.
Please share any updates you might have.
Sure. I mean, largely, I'm interested if there's anything.
Hold on a second, Lynn, we can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
That's weird. It's being heard. But.
Can you hear me now?
Being weird. Like, leave and come back?
All right, I will leave and come back.
Autumn, what do you want her to do?
Oh, it's for the captions.
The captions hear her, but the
Yeah.
system is not.
You want to leave and come back?
Is the volume up on this?
Yeah, able to do all the tests.
Yeah.
We hear you.
Okay, hold on, we got it.
Thanks for your troubleshooting.
Yes, thank you. All right.
Can you hear me now?
Sure, I'll provide an update. Remind me and we'll go to the end of the meeting.
Can you hear me now?
We're never getting home tonight.
Sure.
I don't think you guys can hear me.
We've had it for a minute.
Can anybody hear me?
Yeah.
Run just because.
Can you hear me? It looks like you can hear me, but nobody else can hear me.
I'm sorry, Lynn, we're so sorry. It almost never happened. Yes.
I think the laptop's mad because it knows that you're trying to replace it with that owl
Do you
system.
want my laptop? I can't guess what's wrong. The volume's all the way up. Do you want? And the volume's all the way up with this. Do you want my laptop? Sorry? Do you want my laptop?
It's not gonna help.
What if Lim just calls one of us, we put her on speakerphone? Seriously, you want to do that?
I can call her right now.
Yeah, thank you.
This is the last time you probably will have to use this meeting tech at all.
Nice.
Okay, I'm
So
calling.
I understand why the laptop's mad.
Yeah, I would not work if I were it.
Pick up the phone, love.
Hello.
Hi.
I have to turn my volume down on my computer so that we're not in a 4 or 5 feedback loop.
Can you hear this?
Hi,
That's
friends.
not bad.
County legislative updates. I am committing to working on our County Human Rights Commission law, which is going to be, I think, a fairly big project, but I think it's time for a much more comprehensive law, and I think that will help us to address several other issues at once. if we have a more robust county human rights law and commission, including housing, because it will give us a better way to keep track of fair housing issues across the county. So that's going to be my big project, I think, probably for this term. And we are just now getting started. I'm also working on talking to the county exec about creating some mental health, pediatric mental health satellite offices, because there's very limited access across the county, but especially outside of Kingston. And so I'm advocating for those satellite sites, but I'm also really advocating for one here in New Paltz. So there are a lot of details to work out, there's several moving parts to that. And I see that the second on campus is on the agenda. I don't know to what extent you would like for me to speak to that, but I'm happy to. And then I want to know what you want me to take back or what questions you have.
Did you just want to share some thoughts with us about May 2nd, or did you want to participate in this agenda item?
I'm happy to do either.
I sent you a note. I really appreciated the idea that you shared about this concept of mutual acknowledgement. I thought that was really well stated. I don't know if that was what you were going to share with us now.
I certainly can. Yeah.
Okay.
I often find in any contentious situation that there's a need to make sure that we're all using the same terms in the same way. And I definitely experienced that not everyone involved in the goings on campus people weren't using the same terms the same way. And so things felt incendiary to some people that felt normative to other people, but nobody was speaking the same language. And so that makes it impossible to have a meaningful conversation. I also think that in this case in particular, there were such significant flaws in everyone's starting premises that for there to be meaningful conversation going forward, I think the first thing that has to happen is ownership of those places where we fell short, and that mutual accountability is a great way to start a conversation that goes somewhere rather than just more intractable finger pointing. And I'm very happy to see that there are so many community organizations and members involved in this conversation, because I think this has also really highlighted the ways in which the SUNY campus is central to our community life together, which can get overlooked on an average day. So this is good. This does actually bring us together if we can all go gently into the conversation and the discernment. And then just to be on the record that as clergy as well as an elected official, I'm happy to be a support system in whatever way I can be.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth.
Sorry, Lynn, you asked something along the lines, what would you like me to say at the meeting? Is that correct? That what you were saying was terrific.
Good. Thank you. I mean it. I'm here to help. And
Then I have
go
one
ahead.
question, downshifting quite a bit here. A couple of weeks ago, we heard of a nature bus that's going around the county, stopping at Kingston and Ellenville, but no nature bus in New Paltz. And some of us felt, well, why not us, given the resources that we have here and the lack of, real transportation, public transportation. So I'm wondering if you've heard anything, if this is going to be moving forward in some way, or
Sure.
how that decision came to be.
Sure. So this is very much a pilot program. I definitely don't think that what is what will be. This is a beta phase. And I also think that appropriately, in trying to figure out where to begin something like this, it's really important to begin where there is the least access, and that would be Kingston and Ellenville. So I think that was an appropriate starting place. I think the most important thing for us to do is watch carefully to see what that ridership is. And then once we know if that works, and I think that it will, then we know that that's something we want to advocate for going forward.
I spoke with Jen Metzger about it briefly, and she hears what we have to say because we have so many people without cars, and it's absolutely on the radar for going forward.
Thank you, Lynn.
I trust her. She says she's working on it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yep. Anything else you want me to know, take back?
I don't think so, but we'll definitely shoot you a note as things come up, as always.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lynn.
Okay, another announcement.
You too, sweetheart.
Another announcement I had is that we're excited. Our sister city friends from NEMI are joining us next week. They'll be here Monday morning in this room. We're going to have some bagels and coffee, and then we're going to go plant a tree on Huguenot Street, a street tree. So that'll be right in front of the Elting Cemetery, which is diagonally across from the African burial ground. And then they have a very full itinerary, meeting with various other dignitaries throughout our community. And I visited Japan last fall, and I brought 5 teenagers with me, and I thought we had an ambitious schedule, and this schedule that our friends from NEMI are pursuing is amazing. It's like, then we go to New York City on Wednesday and we visit New York City, and then we get on a plane, and like we all know that's not how that works. But we're excited to see them and reconnect. When I visited in October, I was the 4th mayor from New Paltz to have visited them. So it's pretty cool. And that, the program was started by Mayor Nyquist, and Terry Duncan was there, and Jason was there, and I was there. So it's a pretty fun tradition.
Awesome. And forgive me if I need to eat a little bit tonight. I'm being treated for Londovicia and Bartonella, and I have to take meds and stuff at different times, so I apologize.
No problem. Public comment. Want to join us at the table? Just state your name for the.
This is a very quick thing. I have meatloaf in the oven, so I can't stay very long.
All right.
I was asked by one of my tenants, and I realized as I'm sitting there that I probably should have gone through Blue first. Between North Manheim and Mill Rock, there's a whole lot of potholes there, and they just asked me if I could come and speak. And sitting in there, I realized I probably should have gone to Blue first, and not you. So I just
Between North Manheim and Mill Rock.
on John Street.
Okay,
Yeah.
on John Street.
Oh, that's
So I'll check with Bill if we're using some of our CHIPS money to pay for that.
oh,
A
okay.
chunk of our CHIPS money
Yeah.
this year, for the
Okay.
first time in our history, we're using it to replace the sidewalk on Prospect Street. It's about 912 linear feet. We approved that at our last meeting.
Good.
But we're always try to, you know,
It's,
use
it's
some of
not a
that
lot,
money.
you know, it's probably the distance maybe from you to me, there's a bunch of good side holes there. to get
That
through.
reminds me of one of my favorite phrases that we hear, "Can't you just?"
All right, I'm gonna go, I don't
All
mind
right,
food.
so it's on our radar, John.
Don't
All
forget
right,
dinner.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, jumping into our,
Anyone virtually or,
any virtual public comments?
not that it would be easy, but.
We have Caitlin, Kitty Brown, and an unknown user on the Zoom right now.
Okay. I move that we, well, let me just go ahead. I move that we accept the consent agenda as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I move, so the public hearing for the Restore New York Round 8, did we open that last time, or we're opening that for the first time tonight?
You're closing it.
We're closing it, so it's already open. Did we receive any additional comments about our application to the Restore New York program?
Nothing new, there is that form that people can share, just solicit comments, and we've got a few responses.
Okay. I move that we close this public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Then jumping into the business agenda. First item on our business agenda is the Ann Oliver House and our application to this Restore New York program. So we have a letter of funding commitment that we received from the Margaret Wade Lewis Center. And it says, we are committed to providing a 10% match of approximately $42,500. And then it describes the other grant awards that have been secured to help stabilize and refurbish the house on 5 Broadhead that will be the future home of the Margaret Wade Lewis Center. So previously, Senator Hinchey was able to secure $61,000, and former Assemblymember Kevin Cahill was able to secure $250,000. So we've been working on going ahead and accepting those grant awards. And then this application, fingers crossed that we receive it, should provide enough capital so that the house can be restored based on the plans that the Margaret Wade Lewis Center have worked on.
Kate Hines is on the Zoom if you want to give her a shout out. Just acknowledge.
Hi, Kate Himes. Thanks for joining us for this conversation. And we're going to include the letter of funding commitment in this grant application. That's due, I believe, on sometime later in May, on May 22nd. And we also have a resolution authorizing the submission of this grant application. I move that we greenlight that resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I have one
Okay,
comment.
go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, just in an email, I had a question. We're putative owner, and I suggested that also we add and steward of the lands. I don't know if you saw that email earlier.
I did. So that would just be wording that would be added to
Yeah.
the resolution.
It just would follow putative owner
Okay.
and steward.
I'm fine with your friendly amendment to
It's just
update the resolution.
Makes it a little more clear what.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then the next item on this business agenda is the topic of consolidation, the proposed consolidation of the town and the village. So we have, at our previous meeting, we went ahead and officially agreed to hire LaBerge. I believe the town board met and did the same thing. So the path that we're suggesting that we take is that we have a resolution here this evening where we would be authorizing the acceptance of a proposal for consulting services in connection with the government reorg between the town and the village. So this is basically a resolution that more officially memorializes our motion from our previous meeting. And the reason that we want this resolution is so that LaBerge has a physical resolution, and then also we can cite that resolution in an IMA between the town and the village so that we can partner and both contribute in equal share for this, to pay for this consultant. And the village has already applied to, and then we did this with the town at, I believe, the meeting in January, where we agreed to go ahead and apply to the Department of State for the Craig program. And so now we have a work plan from the Department of State officials. So we would be the applicant to get that money, then that would be shared evenly between the town and the village to augment each of our contributions to pay for LaBerge as our consultant, so that they can help us form a reorganization plan that both boards would then consider and ideally agree to, and then agree to a upcoming referendum for the community to consider voting yes or no on that reorg plan. So that's the roadmap. Any questions?
I said second.
So you're seconding my,
A motion, yeah. The
no, that's fine.
resolution
So
has
yeah,
a-
I'm moving that we go ahead and adopt the resolution, then authorize the mayor to sign the work plan. And then we're also going to share the work plan with the town board and seek town board approval for that work plan.
So we're gonna vote on both at the same time.
Yeah.
I second it.
Any further discussion?
After the IMA is signed and sealed and off it goes, what's the time frame from that point forward?
I believe it's relatively soon, in that I think really the first step would involve a public meeting
Right.
where the consultant and the two boards would encourage the community to get together and do some of the initial spitballing about what the future government could look like.
Right. So I would imagine that we have the IMA signed by the end of the month and then beginning work in June with a public meeting, something like that.
That seems like a reasonable
It's pretty much
guesstimate.
on what we had projected at the start of this, right? As I recall.
Yeah, I don't remember the timeline.
Yeah. Because I know we're concerned about, getting it on the ballot.
Yeah, my thinking when we were discussing the possibility of including this on a November ballot, I tried to reinforce that I felt like that was an aspirational goal.
Okay.
I feel like if every star aligns, that may still be possible. But I also would rather promise less and deliver more, and let's just keep doing each individual step, as opposed to being too focused on
Right.
reverse engineering
Yes.
back from the referendum, because
Right.
we would need it to be perfect, and we would need everyone to high five each other every time they see each other in the street, and we know that that's probably not the best way to end up with like a thoughtful reorg plan. We want people to chew on some difficult to figure out questions.
And we want to take the time and be thorough with all of that and not rushed.
And
Yeah.
like definitely learning from our predecessors and making sure we don't rush. I think it's really important. Also, what the back of the ballot's going to look like is now likely different than I think we thought a few months ago anyway. So that would be hard. A referendum this particular November, I think, would be a tough one to educate people about. It would have to be, in my opinion, an education campaign that starts now, without the ERA on the back.
Because the ERA will be a referendum to consider in November.
Possibly, because there's Supreme Court decisions that came
Oh, I
out this
see.
week
I
that
see.
are pulling it. So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I feel like the way
looks
we
like
end up.
there's- Oh, it looks like Rachel LeBaron has a public comment, sorry.
Hi, guys.
So all in favor of greenlighting the resolution as well as the work plan with the Department of State. I'm calling the question. Aye.
Aye.
Do we want to?
Try to see if we can hear Rachel.
It looks like she was trying to talk and I couldn't hear her.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot that she was definitely wanted to make a public comment and,
She joined the meeting late. I don't know. if
Have you
she
tried
can
to
get it
call her?
work.
did you want to acknowledge her public comment or?
I don't mind doing it now.
Rachel, I'm gonna call you because our sound is broken.
Okay. All right. Talk to you soon.
Oops, almost called her dad. That
I
would be funny.
don't have her dad's number. Let me get you.
Hey.
Hello.
Hey, sorry,
Hey.
our sound is like really weird. I don't know what's going on. It's been translating people, but not letting us hear it. So, we have
gonna
you
say, Autumn?
live.
Hi. I have a public comment.
Do you want to say your name, even though I just said that's my best friend, Rachel LeBear?
It's Rachel LeBear.
Awesome.
Hello. Yeah.
Hi, Rachel.
All right.
Hello. I'm just, thought I'd pop in and say that it's not like the best day to be a New Paltz native, having you explain to people that you're from the place with the most arrests of college students across the country, including UCLA. I'm super, super disturbed by the lack of sort of any kind of visible, dissent from most elected officials, not all. I know the village board is the entity with the least power in this situation, but I also feel like having helped elect a lot of the village board, I know that you guys are not, the people who would be okay with this. And, something has to be done to figure out how this happened and to hold accountable those who did it. I've been watching videos. It's horrific. The arrest that occurred, totally inappropriate. Border of farcical to send helicopters and dogs after people sitting on benches and ground. A huge waste of money. There are people who are in the hospital because of it. And it's just really wrong to do that, even if, however you feel about the issues that brought those protesters there, it's really wrong. And just letting people know that people are watching New Paltz right now and finding out what some of us already knew. And I really hope you all use this moment to do what you can to make it clear that this is not acceptable. It's not acceptable way to treat people. It's not acceptable way for a university to treat students. It's not acceptable way for a county to treat students. Yeah, that's it.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
y'all.
Rachel. And
Thank
it
you,
is on our
Rachel.
agenda to discuss tonight.
Yep.
Thank you.
We're going to talk about it a little
Bye.
later. Thanks, bye.
Bye.
Okay, so the next item we discussed at our last meeting, and I think the plan was Alex is going to work on a draft regarding Chapter 132. So
Oh, yeah.
there's no action to be taken or any anticipated discussion on that for this evening.
Not yet, but look, I have made a Google Doc of the entire 28 pages of the original Chapter 132.
Okay.
And started marking stuff because just background is I guess some parts of it had gotten subtracted. Was it when the security deposit law got passed?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what happened. So
Oh, wow.
yeah. So I guess so that was two boards ago, a couple or multiple boards ago. That's when I was the clerk. That's when I was the autumn. And when that law was passed, somehow it the way it was written with and it deletes this whole part of the chapter, it like deleted a lot of the chapter that we didn't intend to. So I'm working on a law to basically reinsert the parts that we did not mean to lose. And I think that's where the update to the affordable housing law language that I was concerned about would go, because the affordable housing law update that we had was very specific, to put the update that Adele Ruger had suggested and others had suggested over years about, just really clarifying the language about affordable units cannot be different than the other units and stuff. It would change kind of the spirit of our law that we had public hearings about. So I don't think there's gonna be any change. I think we should move forward actually with the affordable housing law updates that we've been working on, like separate from the whole thing, because I think that's fine, and we already had public hearings about it and whatnot. Yes. I think the spirit of that change actually was just to be about the units. I think we should go ahead and do that. And the change that that Adele suggested, it just isn't in the proposed affordable housing law update that we had in front of us. It just wasn't in there. So I think that should just go in the whole overhaul of
next time. Okay.
Yeah, if that makes sense.
Okay, so then why don't we get a clean draft, and then anything else we need to go ahead and approve this law change for the next meeting?
Secret notifications will probably have to be resent with these changes, just to know.
Well, we're not making
There's
any
no
changes.
changes.
The point is, we don't want to make the changes.
But you're going to proceed with this as it is with the current version and then go back.
Yeah.
Yeah, but go back in separately.
Yeah, go back in separately, because what happened was, if it makes sense, just is like the way we were looking at our updates to the affordable housing law, which is within that whole housing chapter. We specified parts of it that don't even touch the part that I want to add an update to. So that's going to be a different, totally separate topic down the road. I set a deadline of myself to have like a draft of this ready for us for September. And Stana said she'll help. So I'm starting to parse out some parts for Stana, because it's, again, a 30-page law and looking at basically what happened in 2018. And trying to make sure we add in what was never meant to be taken out, and then we can use that as an opportunity to make these other changes to other parts of our housing law.
That sounds good. So at our next meeting, we will have a clean copy that we can all triple check for a final time before adopting that law, because you've already closed the public hearing. Okay.
Perfect.
That sounds good.
Yeah, and again, just to be clear to the public, nothing changing at all in that from the public hearings and stuff.
And just quickly summarize what is the main change. It's just number of units for larger buildings.
Yep.
You want to just explain that? Did you want to explain that?
I don't have it in front of me.
I think the current law is for 10 or more, for complexes with 10 or more units, you have to have at least 10% affordable. And the proposal is 15% for complexes with 20 or more units.
I believe you.
That's all it is.
Yep.
Okay. So we'll circle back on that at the next meeting. And then any update on the Shared Parenting Day discussion?
Yeah, so I did a little research. Basically, the National Parenting Organization is trying to push for children with divorced parents to have equal time with each parent. And they're trying to push a law that's actually Kentucky became the first state to pass the law on April 26th, 2018, which is the Shared Parenting Law. So yeah, it's pretty much basically the gist of it. They just want to create like a day to recognize and potentially work on passing that law in other states.
But I mean, I've not read the Kentucky law or
I didn't get that
what
one.
they're proposing.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, from 20,000 feet, it all seems nice, but
Yeah. So I didn't get a chance to actually look at the law itself.
okay. Do you guys want to continue to dig into this as our additional research topic, or?
I mean, whatever you all think, you know, I feel I would want to like compare with like what is going on like in New York State law, like what do we have, what's being proposed, et cetera. Like a side by side.
Yeah, it's right. It would require some time spent.
Yeah, definitely would be some time spent. I don't have that time to do that side by side, personally, but I would support if somebody was passionate about that, then go for it.
If anyone's super passionate, please raise your hand. Otherwise, I'm going to suggest that we just keep moving forward. Okay. Next item, parking meter zone. You know, we're taking a review to see if we could identify inconsistencies that we could clean up. You know, kind of similar to the exercise that Alex was talking about within the housing chapter.
I have no other updates besides the discrepancy that you mentioned around here in the park. Yeah, I spent time walking the streets and I really couldn't find anything that was different from what it says on the papers or in the code.
You know what could be interesting, Alex? Maybe you could pull, you know, do the same thing that you did with the housing code and, you know, just put it in an editable Google Doc, and then you could review it based on your notes and see if there's anything that we want to update. But you're saying like you have it printed out, you've reviewed.
I walked it. Yeah.
There's nothing beyond the difference where the perimeter of the northern section of Hasbrook Park, where like the rule is different than the other sections in terms of timing.
Not that I noticed, but
Okay.
I think it would be beneficial for somebody else to take a second look.
Yeah, I can make a Google Doc and circulate just so we can get everybody's eyes on it.
Okay.
And like Stevie, like maybe you could then like kind of use like comments to insert like any little comments, and then like we can do track changes with any little tweaks we want to make.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay, so then the next item has to do with, I saw someone on social media talk about how when they used the Park Mobile app, there was some sort of response where like they got an ad. So I sent that note to the folks at Park Mobile, and the response that I got back was that there's a NIFT partnership offer. So customers in New Paltz were receiving these ads, you know, because they had downloaded the app, and they said that that was in our agreement with them. And straight away they offered for us to opt out. And I said, that would be fantastic. We would like to opt out. I did that unilaterally without asking you guys. So I'm putting it on this agenda to see if we would like to formally ask Park Mobile that we be opted out from anyone within New Paltz who's using that app from getting these ads. And I don't even know exactly how it works or how you know, involved it is, but it just feels like that's not what we're looking for. Yeah.
You know, this was kind of annoying because I thought we had the discussion with the reps from them to talk about that specific thing. And my memory's a little foggy on this, but I think we did bring this up and that we were not wanting that to happen. I was a little surprised to see this.
That might have had to do with, I remember having fairly detailed conversations about them sharing our user data.
Yeah.
I don't know that it was about our users receiving third-party ads, but I'm really psyched that their response was,
Quick.
we can opt you out.
I think it's,
What were you gonna say,
I
Autumn?
think it's due, because I think you would have heard about it before now, if it wasn't, maybe you've been using this system
Yeah.
for 9 months, so I think they just did it.
So I asked Park Mobile that we be opted out. And then his response was that he put that request in motion. And then I also asked to let us know when we could know for certain that it was enacted, so that we can circulate that information with our users. And for whatever reason, anyone's still getting ads, and I don't even, I've not experienced this, but we can share it with our community that no one should be receiving any ads just because they have the Park Mobile app to use the use that application to pay for parking within New Paltz.
That's interesting, just like something just for us to keep an eye on in general, like in this age that like our predecessors never had to. And I'm like, I'm gonna, like, there's been so much like legislation thrown around like on the state and federal level about different kinds of like things. So I'll keep an eye out for just if there's anything at all ever about this. Like just adding on to, a municipal parking app, suddenly having pop-up ads,
Right.
like how is that not regulated,
Yeah. What I'm imagining too is because we took a pretty deep dive when we looked at this contract.
Yeah.
And I wonder if there's just like super vague language in the contract that allows them to interpret that they can do this.
Right.
I mean, I didn't go back into the contract because we had already spent time reviewing the contract. I remember the one thing that we were super focused on was how they share our data.
Right.
But maybe there is some other vague language where they felt it was fun to do this. But I love the fact that they said that we can opt out.
Awesome.
Okay.
So we voted to give you permission to opt us out, is that correct?
That's your motion. I seconded it. All in favor?
I thought you moved it, I seconded
I
it.
have
so
no
whatever.
idea. Now it's done. Sidewalk on Prospect. So I think what's fascinating about social media is any mention of Bluestone, we get so many people saying, can I have the Bluestone? And no, you cannot. And you can't have any other like municipally owned assets. On this consent agenda, we actually have a truck that is 20 years old and will be replaced. And what we had to do is declare it as surplus, and then it was publicly auctioned off, and someone is buying this dump truck from 2005 for $4,850. This is all state law. So in the contract that we have with any contractor that's doing a large capital project, we even put a link to it in this agenda. It says like any materials you then have to return, and the way we ordinarily do it is you either put it behind the DPW garage and our guys deal with it, or you put it at the water plant. In this particular project, it's just going to be moved down to the water plant. We're actually because we've looked at Bluestone so carefully for so many years at this point, we're not anticipating that there will be very much salvageable Bluestone at all, because so much of it is broken. And then, it's been explained to me time and time again that when you move Bluestone at all, it generally breaks. So no, community, you cannot have Bluestone or crumbs from an old Bluestone sidewalk. That's all I had on that. And then, Bill, you added the letter to the editor regarding Prospect Street sidewalks.
Right. Well, the letter to the editor was a bit more than just Prospect Street. It was a letter discussing what future plans are for Bluestone in the village of New Paltz and how the community can know more about what those plans are for removal and at what locations and what the timeline might be. Sorry, I was not able to make the last meeting. I asked for the topic to be tabled so I could attend the meeting to have a discussion about Prospect Street, but I had my first bout of COVID. I was not able to either attend remotely or in person. So my concern is not just for Prospect Street, but for the village itself, that I know that you've had plans to replace certain sections of sidewalk, including bluestone, with asphalt. And in my conversations with community members, some of whom have signed on to this letter, I believe approximately like 40 or 50 people expressing some concern about what are the plans and can we be more informed about it. In terms of Prospect Street, I had done some research on what possibly could happen for Prospect Street, and met with a local contractor, met with Blue, and certainly the removal of bluestone is a challenge, but not an impossibility, according to one contractor I spoke with. There's a section certainly on Prospect Street where the bluestone is not salvageable, but there are other great stretches that can be preserved. And that's part of the genesis of this letter about, what else is planned for bluestone in the community.
Where's the salvageable bluestone on Prospect Street?
It's, and you can come and look, and I invite all my fellow board members to come and take a look at the bluestone from in front of Allison Nash's house down until Jerry Benjamin's house.
Yeah, I
Okay,
have
so
no idea what houses.
there's 300 linear feet of bluestone on Prospect Street, 50 at Allison Nash's house, 200 linear feet in front of your house, and 150 linear feet in Jerry Benjamin's house. I've spoken with Jerry Benjamin continuously for a very long time, where he has insisted that we replace the sidewalks.
My conversations with him were, he said to me he wanted bluestone replaced, and I know that's not.
Okay. I've also visited this community with people in wheelchairs and intentionally walked sidewalks with them and had them explain to me what's problematic when you're using a wheelchair trying to navigate sidewalks.
Right.
And I think it's incredibly important that we make sidewalks pedestrian friendly for walkers, and we also try to make sidewalks ADA compliant. You could go right across the street here, there's bluestone, and nearly every third piece is broken. Every piece would be problematic for someone to navigate in a wheelchair. This discussion about using the exact same design that New York State has used on campus where Plattekill Avenue is has been discussed at this board table via emails with this entire village board, including yourself, for years and years and years. I realize that people feel sentimental about bluestone and they think it's pretty. I do too. I also would prioritize making sure that it's safe and comfortable for people to walk on as the priority over the aesthetics or some nostalgic connection to bluestone. That's my belief, that's our responsibility. And I think what's really troubling about this letter is that it's focusing on Mayor Rogers did something, because 4 people voted for this project. You have reviewed these projects.
I've not reviewed the specifics of Prospect Street.
Then that's on you, Bill.
No,
because you have not reviewed the materials.
I have reviewed the materials. Now, when did Prospect Street, the asphalting of Prospect Street sidewalks occur? When did that happen? And when was it publicly announced?
Okay.
We've gone over this. You have a responsibility to read your materials.
You have a responsibility as well.
I do too. And
what did that happen? I don't believe it did.
This letter is just like
I know
this letter
how to
where
feel,
you're,
Tim, I understand
yeah,
that.
and where you're citing that Mayor Rogers used a picture of bluestone on Huguenot Street. And you know why Mayor Rogers did that? Because I take the fact that the village of New Paltz agreed to replace the bluestone on Huguenot Street, south of the monument, in 2008. Right. This agreement with historic Huguenot Street says that the village of New Paltz should have replaced that Bluestone by December of 2008. That's 16 years ago.
Right.
So what we have been focused on doing is trying to replace that sidewalk. In addition to putting letters in the paper on a weekly basis and social media and being hyper communicative with this board and you, I have talked about sidewalk ad nauseum, including the section where there's a photograph on Huguenot Street. So to suggest that anything nefarious is being done or anything unclear is being done is really, I read your letter, and
It's just written by me.
But you signed on to it, Bill.
That's
And let me
correct.
just
It's
say
clear.
something here. Let me just say something.
Please.
The fact that you have been in on all the emails and could read up on it. Wait, let me just finish the whole thing I want to say, and then you can say what you want, okay? But the fact is, we've all been in on all these emails, and you waited until we were about to sign an agreement. We had paid a lot of money to get to that spot. We were trying to do things efficiently. You knew this. If you didn't, again, the way that Tim said it, I understood what was going on. You had the same emails that I have. Let me finish. And so it's your responsibility to read them. If we had made this change for you, just to allow these three houses to be different, it would have cost taxpayers $100,000. I'm not willing to do that. Our fiduciary responsibility is paramount, I feel like, to do the right thing for the village and not for a few people and going out of our way. And you know, we gave you time to try to figure out something different, and then we saw that it was going to cost an extra $100,000. And I don't see a justification for that. We haven't raised taxes. We work really hard. You're part of it. And it feels unfair of you to do this at the last minute like that. And you stopped us from being able to do everything at once the way it was all planned, which you knew about based on the emails, so that the sidewalk could be done when the sewer stuff was done and everybody's efficient. And it's not been okay. It's problematic. I mean, I'm not okay with that.
Okay. To circle back to Tim's point about sidewalk being safe for people in wheelchairs, there's absolutely no disagreement with that. And that's not what's being said. What's being said is, like in Stone Ridge and in Kingston, there's a attitude and approach to preserving bluestone in their communities. In fact, much of Main Street on Stone Ridge was replaced with bluestone. And in Kingston, there's effort to preserve it, and that's what this is about.
Have you been to the recently replaced sidewalks in Stone Ridge? Because they're already moving.
Yes, I have seen it.
And our DPW superintendent, you know, that's his concern, right? And the contractor that you reached out to, and you're sitting here telling us today that this can all be done. Yes, it absolutely can be done for double the cost. For double the cost. Additionally, this misinformation campaign, your letter to the paper, where you're saying we're going to blacktop over bluestone, that's not what's happening. Or the other sections of asphalt sidewalks throughout the village are not wearing properly. None of what we are doing has ever been done before. So there's 0 linear feet of existing asphalt sidewalks that will resemble what we are doing at all. So this is like an amazing misinformation campaign. Additionally, the contractor who you reached out to, who subsequently spoke to me, I sent him all the plans, and he said, thank you. The concerns that I have had about using these materials have been addressed. This will work out very, perfectly fine.
Okay. The notion that it's going to cost $100,000 to replace bluestone on that.
No, that's not what we're saying. That's not what we're saying.
Because
Wait, that's not what we're saying. The change to the plans will cost $100,000.
That's it.
It's any change to the plan that we have already because we were that far along in the process, right? Autumn?
Change orders can occur. That happens on a pretty regular basis when you come to contracting. The approach that I was trying to get to prior to, our meeting back in when was it, in March or April, was that we were looking into doing it ourselves. Some of the neighbors who wanted to do that. Now that's been scratched apparently because now we have a better.
We said it to your wife. If she wanted to pay $75,000, she could. She said no.
Right here, 2 weeks ago.
Pay who?
Pay the premium to do a bluestone.
But you had asked at one point, could a neighbor do that? The people that have the sidewalks in front of their homes.
Okay.
So
there's so many things wrong with this conversation.
Yeah,
like, let's also focus on the fact that what you are doing as a village board member is that you want special treatment in front of your house. But meanwhile, the sidewalk, well, I am construing it that way because you have continued to bring this up meeting after meeting.
I brought it up twice.
No, this is the third time we're discussing bluestones.
Okay,
So you want to have individual sections in front of your house to be different from the entire rest of the street.
Well, it has to start somewhere because other people are going to be asking the very same questions. What are you doing in front of my house? There's bluestone throughout the village. Are you going to talk to those people as well?
If we can somehow use our very limited resources to make sidewalks accessible, we should.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And by making things unbelievably expensive, and then with a material choice that is like problematic for people in wheelchairs, problematic for people who are just walking, but some people think it looks nice. That's going to rank really low on my, it's just please vote me out of office because I would like, if we're going to spend money on sidewalks, we should do it in a way that's pedestrian friendly.
Right, I mean, there's no disagreement with that. And it's not just an aesthetic decision. It's about preserving something in the history of New Paltz. It's an important material that's overlooked, that can be treated in a way as any other sidewalk. As it has for 100 years.
No, it actually is easier and less expensive to maintain.
That's
asphalt versus.
That's a debatable issue.
No, it is not.
Asphalt versus bluestone is.
This is also asphalt that includes a concrete curb.
Correct.
That includes grass mediums where it can. Like, this is like, we walked every single inch of this with the engineers.
Right.
This is what we do on a daily basis here, as we try to make thoughtful decisions to support and benefit as many of our community members as possible, not simply those who have a nostalgic connection to bluestone.
Well, then why do we have, a historic preservation commission?
Well, Bill, you could also go down in front of Starbucks right now and you could look at a pothole because there are cobblestones. Do you want us to re-cobblestone the street?
I don't know.
Because we could do that, and figure out how much that might cost and what kind of premium we're talking about.
That was done by the property owners.
Well, I propose we move on. And if you want to keep bringing this up, then we can do that. But you've kind of exhausted my patience with this topic.
I'm sorry if I bring up a topic for discussion, I exhaust your patience.
Yeah, this is the third time we've talked about this. You were asked to come back with a solution a long time ago, but instead of solutions.
We said we gave you 2 weeks. And you didn't come back that next meeting like we discussed. We said, come back to the next meeting, and you didn't. And then we had to do it
5
2
weeks later
after that.
5 weeks later.
When I was asked to come back in 2 weeks, was it on the agenda?
It's been on the agenda.
Was it on the agenda for that meeting?
It's just been on the agenda.
No, on the agenda for that meeting, it was not.
Yeah, but it was
We
your
also emailed with
responsibility to
you the
come to
very
us with
next
it,
day,
because you
and
said
we
you
said,
wanted it, and you said, okay.
you said you're gonna
in
get
the
people to
meeting,
pay
here,
a
at this
premium.
table.
Hold your mouth full, please.
You said you were gonna get people to pay the premium.
I didn't say I was going to. I said.
You were going to
investigate.
look into it.
That's right.
And
I
you
didn't-
didn't
didn't
respond.
into
You
it.
did not respond.
And was it on the agenda to discuss that?
Bill,
It
if we
wasn't.
ask you a question and you don't follow through, what are we supposed to do?
It's on you. You said you wanted it.
So you had no question up until, at all for that?
I assumed because you just went radio silent. I absolutely did. I assumed because you went radio silent on the topic
I didn't go
that you
radio
were.
silent.
Well, you didn't circle
Okay.
back, like with your trustee homework that we
Yeah,
provided
and
amnesty,
did.
honestly, on, I feel even bad that it was me that was, hey, let's hit pause for 2 weeks so that Bill can have even more time to catch up on his trustee homework from the past couple years and do this survey of his
Right.
neighbors. And you didn't circle back. There's a reason why all these, so many different things are on the agendas every week. It's Tim and I putting things on the agenda that we're working on, and we follow up and we put them on the agenda and we get them done.
I certainly
Just do
understand
your
all that.
homework, Bill,
I
sorry.
am doing my homework.
You didn't do your
Where-
homework and
not on
it's
time.
done.
Okay, we can take this out later, talk about it later, but I want to see the email that says specifically that Prospect Street from, is it from Main to Slate is going to be covered with asphalt or replaced by asphalt.
Then Google search your hundreds of emails.
That's right.
I will, and I have not been able to find it.
Okay.
Maybe that's the issue.
Maybe.
I'll just send them, and you guys can move on.
Thank you.
Thanks, Autumn.
Okay, I move that we approve the bond resolution dated May 8th, 2024, the issuance of an additional $2,100,000 of aggregate principal amount serial bond pursuant to local finance law to finance the construction, reconstruction, and installation of improvements to the water supply system of said village.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I move that we approve the bond resolution dated May 8th, 24, authorizing the issue of up to $1 million aggregate principal amount serial bond of New Paltz to finance the additional cost of the replacement of water distribution mains of said village.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I move that we approve the bond resolution dated May 8th, authorizing issuance of up to $500,000 aggregate principal amount of serial bond of New Paltz to finance the cost of construction and reconstruction of improvements to village buildings. That's for the roof of this building.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We also have a fire contract that we need to approve and send to the town. So the way this works is that each year we look at the number of fire calls that take place in the village, in the SUNY campus, and mutual aid, and then the town outside the village, and on the thruway, and then we share them. The village has to pay for the SUNY campus calls, and we share the mutual aid, and the town pays for the thruway calls, and then we each are responsible for the calls in our respective municipalities. So last year, 52% of all of those calls occurred in the quote-unquote village, including the SUNY campus. So that means that the budget will be split 52-48%. Does someone want a second sending it to the town and approving it? All in favor? Aye.
Do you
And
want to recuse on that?
I don't think so.
Right.
Community development block grant application for the preparation of small cities block grant applications between the Village of New Paltz and Mark Blauer. Someone want to go ahead and second my motion that we hire Mark to prepare this grant app?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then we also need a public hearing and an RFQ. So we have a resolution authorizing June 12th of this year for the hearing regarding this grant app. And then we also need to authorize for advertising of the engineering services by a request for qualifications. This is all related to our app where we will be pursuing money for sewer remediation.
Did you just move those both at once?
Yep.
Oh, and it's not a seconded, okay.
Aye.
Aye.
I'm just going to jump ahead to 15 just to get this done. I just stuck this on my social media page, so where I use my village title, it says Mayor Tim Rogers. I just put this in the general, just a disclaimer that the opinions and information shared on my page are my own and not necessarily those of the village board, or any other village official. So I use the phrase "not necessarily" because clearly sometimes as a board we move resolutions or position statements or whatever, and we might share that out. So that's clearly reflective of the village board. But sometimes I might share something on a social media page where I'm using my title that's just my opinion. So I'm just suggesting and not requiring that any of us who use our elected official titles, use a disclaimer like that. And I think Alex said she has already used disclaimers like this on her social media pages.
I'm adding necessarily right now because I like that. I had it just like opinions my own, vibes 845, but I'll be more clear and take yours. I was cited in Times Union for my disclaimer multiple times, so love this. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
I move that we approve the budget mod and amendments.
Are we voting on this?
No, that was just a suggestion.
Okay, so are we all in agreement, and are we all going to do that?
I'm doing it.
Or is it an option?
I mean, I think if we wanted to memorialize it, we would do something like update like the handbook, but I wasn't going that crazy.
Okay, so it's an option whether or not we want to.
I just thought it would be something that would make sense that we all make an effort to do.
Yeah.
But it's optional,
Yeah. Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Just trying to be communicative with the public.
Thank you.
So I'm approving that we move the budget mods.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Let's move the resolution for bills and claims.
Second.
And then
Aye.
aye. Planning board liaison update.
Ulster County as well. Ulster County met last week. One of the takeaways was a local law introduced by the town of Olive, where they dive into the definition and notion of what character is. I shared that with the village board, planning board, various other committees we have, and it's a fairly extensive description of what character is and how they identify character in the community, and possibly worth a look by our own village board and inclusion in some capacity in our code. There was also discussion that went on at length about, it's called the Regulated Development of Warehousing in Ulster County, and they're looking to put out a planner's memo that discusses what is a warehouse, where can they be located, how to tax, how to assess, measuring the economic contribution to the community, various things. It's a fairly general memo that's being prepared in draft form. But I think given what's happening with Orange County, that apparently Orange County is running out of warehouse space and developers are looking elsewhere to place these structures. So, and then planning board met last night, reapproval of the 85 North Chestnut, the Roddy multi-use structure there. That's been approved. There was a revisit to the Wells Fargo building talking about basically parking spots, how much asphalt's going to be used. There's a request to get a traffic engineer involved, and apparently it still plans to include a gym and a bank at various opposite ends of each other.
I just wanted to clarify, so Autumn and I were talking about that discussion of a traffic engineer. I think what's interesting and important is that it's not a traffic engineer in terms of like congestion regarding traffic on Main Street. It's more about an engineer to look at the site to see if where they want to modify parking, how cars would navigate the area if there's enough space.
Right. And apparently, the existing building is posing some problems as to exactly where they can put the parking that they need. And so that's going to be an ongoing conversation. And other than that, there was a pool presentation, the deck plan. That's it for both Ulster County and Village headlines.
And there's no ZBA liaison update. So circling back, we had a discussion of May 2nd, 2024 at City New Paltz on this agenda. I can share out that that was discussed this morning at our town gown meeting, and in attendance was President Wheeler and Chief of Staff Shelley Wright, outgoing Police Chief Rob Lucchese, incoming Police Chief Matt Sutton, the recently sworn in University Police Chief Ryan Williams, Amanda Gatto from the Town Council, Alex Bear, Deputy Town Supervisor, and Rescue Emergency Preparedness, and also Ren from, and I'm drawing a blank on Ren's last name right now, Kingsley, Ren from the Student Association, as well as the young woman who is going to be Ren's replacement next year. And it was a really, I think, useful and intensely emotional conversation. Ren did a really great job of expressing how it was very challenging on campus, challenging for her as a student representative of student government. You know, the communication breakdowns, how it was just scary and challenging with use of force, but it was also a very useful conversation to hear the student support services representative who was there, and President Wheeler, who was super forthcoming. And I was actually very proud of everyone in the room for really being, very willing to be vulnerable and honest about how the situation was difficult, where mistakes were made, how decisions were made. I was, we have a great town gown culture in that we get together monthly to talk about a variety of things. So it probably was a good conversation because we already have an existing rapport. But it was a very emotionally intense, but I actually learned a lot about others' perspectives, from all sides, folks who, and that's why I really appreciated what legislator Lim Harmon was talking about in terms of mutual acknowledgement of grievances. And she wrote something in an email to several of us, and I thought it really kind of was a great way, like, if we want to continue to have conversations, like that idea of, like, for lack of a better way of saying it, it's kind of like everyone made mistakes. No one was right.
It sounds like opposite sentiments are coming out of the faculty meeting that happened later in the day today, though. And I really need to see that. You know, one faculty member that I'm not going to name just shared, you know, they attended the meeting today that revealed a lot of what's been omitted from all the communications, you know, from the campus to the public and others, you know, and just like the deep disappointment there. And a bunch of other people have been texting me throughout our meeting, having just come from that faculty meeting with, sounds like it was something I need to watch and absorb, because it sounds like it went down very differently. Yeah.
Is this a faculty meeting involving the president or separate?
I don't know. I didn't get to see it yet, but it was the faculty meeting where, you know, they were planning on having it in the lecture center. It was packed.
I mean, do you have any details about like what was brought up that you're describing as very different from? I don't know that I was necessarily like describing anything in particular, except for the fact that I felt like it was a group of people who were like doing their best to listen to each other. I don't know that anyone, Amanda was there. If you want to like join us at the table, you're certainly welcome. But like if you know, if you feel I'm characterizing it correctly, like I don't know that we like figured anything out in that room or agreed to this was right, that was wrong. It was more of just like, this is what was experienced.
And I think each side heard some things that they didn't realize. You know, there were some assumptions or false understandings on both sides that, oh, we didn't hear this. Oh, I thought we said, you know, that kind of thing. So clearly communications weren't as clear, and I can only imagine how that could happen in that situation. It got really intense really quickly, and it was,
Anything else? Bill, you wanted this on this agenda?
Where do we access that faculty meeting?
What?
Where do we access to watch the video of the faculty meeting?
I don't know. I'll find out.
All right, yeah. Thank you.
I do know from watching yesterday's, you know, meeting with the president that like I got the sense that they thought communications went out, that definitely absolutely did not, you know.
Yeah, I saw that too.
So what I'm picking up from a lot of different texts from the past like 2 hours is there was more information on that kind of got pieced together in this faculty run meeting tonight. But yeah, I just feel like I need to watch that to gain even more understanding. You know, I was there, you know, the students did what we were told to do. I was there when admins came and said, take the tents down. And I was there when we took the tents down. And then I was there when suddenly the state police came in, and, you know, there basically was an announcement from like, we didn't even know where it was coming from. Like, and it was glitching that said 10 minutes to leave the quad. And that was the first time, like, I was surprised, you know, that was being asked. And if I had to be really honest, like, I thought, oh, like a loudspeaker glitching saying leave, like that's an outside like insider trying to cause like a crowd crush, and like for our safety we should stay here, you know. Like where there's a helicopter suddenly above us, you know, at least there's that, you know, like I really thought the worst, because this is the world we live in. Like it didn't occur to me until the police were marching in, hitting their shields with their batons, and then started one by one, like dragging people, like multiple, like 3, 4, 5 police per person, you know, grabbing them, dragging them beyond the police line into the darkness, flipping them over, hog tying them, the screams for help, the screams, you're hurting me. You know, I was on campus, I saw Ren when I was like, I have to go. I think they've got everyone now. I have to go home and cry. That was like well past 1 a.m. And then a couple folks called me when they got out and back to just check in and let me know that they were taken to 7 different places across the region. You know, 7 different barracks. Never an operation like this before, you know, in our area, definitely. I'm still really freaked out, to be quite frank, like personally. You know, I run on campus usually at night. It's how I chill out and try to stay somewhat sane and healthy. And like I found I couldn't even I just did not feel comfortable on the track the other night. I was like, oh my God, this is like the scene of the crime.
I feel that. I live across the street.
Yeah.
You could hear everything.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, you know, I've been hearing from a lot of people that like who live on campus, who were like, yeah, like I was just like in like final paper mode, had no idea really what was going on until the police response, you know. And it's interesting too, because I was getting emails before the police response from thank you, from a parent of a Jewish student in the encampment on campus who shares that her child, who was one of the leaders of the students on campus, and this was before the police response, this was from 5/21 on May 2nd, right? Shared her child's 3rd generation Holocaust survivor and how proud she is of her daughter for standing up for what she believes in, and was thanking me for, you know, sharing out, hey everyone, we're gonna come down to the quad, you know, and that she really appreciated just my support in being there. And I, you know, looking back, I'm glad, because the students trusted me at that time. I was like, guys, the handbook does say no tents. It's always been a sticking point, you know. Same with the hammocks and stuff. It's a pain, but let's just follow the handbook, and then it'll just be another normal night in this quad. And then for a little while there, and I think you know, a few of the media recountings did a good job of sharing this. For a while there, it felt like a good night on campus, exactly what I experienced in my time, you know, as an undergrad between 2003, 2007, and then all the years I've lived here since, you know, a warm night on campus usually gets that packed in that quad, you know. Yeah. I don't think I've, you know, and I definitely haven't attended as many acts of civil disobedience in my life yet as some of our community members, you know, Margaret Human. But I've been to many. I was at the Capitol in DC with Margaret and Donna Goodman and so many other amazing, you know, village and town community members. You know, when I was an undergrad, and you know, fighting and speaking out against the war in Iraq, was you know, one of my most important issues. And I, you know, remember getting on the bus with community members, and once we laid down on the steps of the Capitol, and the National Guard, you know, was pushing us down one by one, and I was like, wow, this is the scariest thing I'm ever going to experience in a protest setting in my life. And I cannot believe that the same, you know, older women in our community, that I did this 20 years with, and they were older women then, were there with us all in the encampment on May 2nd. And oh my God, this was way worse than the National Guard kicking us with their boots, way worse. And I'm so, so grateful that Margaret is okay. Because I saw her not look okay. And that also was really scary to me, because I always admired her.
That Dr. Wheeler really admitted that it was not anything he was prepared for, and not what he, you know, the mistakes were made, yeah. I think he admitted that. And that they need to find a better way to figure out how to deal with things. It's a shame. It's a shame.
I'm sitting here crying. I'm a little emotional just because of all kinds of things, but every time we start talking about this, I start crying. And New Paltz can do better than this, and we have to take the time to make sure that nothing like this ever happens again. This was not okay. This was not okay. You know, I think a lot of people made mistakes, and we don't, you know, I mean, I don't think anybody did everything right. I don't think that happened on, you know, and I really look forward to learning as much as we can about where decisions were made and who decided what and who did what, and really finding out the truth. I'm doing a lot of listening. Whether I completely agree with the words that anyone is using, especially when I don't agree with the words that people are using, I will support their rights to freedom of speech and assembly and protest, because dissent is very much American, and like it's the crux of who we are, is that we can do all of that. And the way this was quashed was unconscionable. And you know, I spent some time on May 1st and May 2nd in the quad. I spoke with protesters, and you know, a lot of, you know, I agree with some stuff and I don't agree with other stuff, but I did not feel that I didn't see anything violent. And I know that some of the phrases are triggering for some of us, including myself, but I sat with them, and I sat with them while they were saying these things and then chanting these things, and I sat with my feelings and with their feelings, and I can hold both at the same time. And we all just have to recognize each other's humanity, and just do everything within our power to never let any of this happen again. We're better than this.
Does the village have the ability to ask who made the decision to call in the state, or how that came about? Because that's what it was.
That's a big question.
Yeah.
I mean, we certainly have the ability to ask that question.
Yeah,
That's
the
not
village and the town.
That's not an issue. I think that's probably, this is a developing story, of course, you know, much will be revealed in the coming weeks. And from what I understand, and certainly everyone is concerned and hears exactly what you guys have been talking about, my interest principally at this point is, you know, what happened and why did it happen? Mm-hmm. And there was, Alex, a recent show of force similar to what was done the other night on the bridge during the Black Lives Matter protests, where there were 100, I think, New York State police officers with batons with an armored vehicle. And there's concern that, or certainly real concern that, are we escalating to that point to answer peaceful protesters? And, you know, that needs to be fully explored. I did reach out to the New York State Police, their public information officer, and asking for a statement, if they had a statement to provide. And they said that they weren't planning on issuing a statement. I asked, well, what I'm hearing is about tactics and what was done. I was told they'd get back to me, and I haven't heard back, but that's just been a couple of days. I'm sure they're trying to figure out much. I also asked the new chief at SUNY New Paltz, Matt, Ryan Williams, and I haven't heard back from him too, because they were the lead agency in this. So how far up it goes or who made the call, my observation, and I wasn't there, but from what I've seen and heard, and people, and we've talked about this in a meeting before this, Donna and I were at, there are tactics there that other schools have been able to come to some resolution without going to the extent that happened the other night. I know that Vassar College, and certainly there are different things, Vassar College was able, right, that discussion, Vassar College came to an agreement with their students to agree to have an ongoing conversation that was within 5 days. NYU's had to disperse their encampment, and the police did the raid during the day. And I think that a raid of this sort at night ratchets up the terror that someone will feel and the emotions that they feel. And with the weekend approaching, personally I ask, could this be carried out a little later rather than at that time? But I don't, again, as I said, it's a developing thing, and undoubtedly we'll hear from our state elected officials, hopefully, and I'm in complete agreement that, this shouldn't happen in this community or any other community in this country to respond that forcefully when you have peaceful protesting going on. I did see campus police arresting people, and they were not in riot gear. And my question is, if they aren't in riot gear, why could not the state police not be in riot gear? And any other like body cams? What was the exchange between officer and the person being arrested? Even though they were all given warning, I think there are ways of tactical ways of approaching it. It's. I mean, I lived in the '60s. I know what this is. I lived in a very activist community where there were protests during the Vietnam War throughout my childhood, and as a kid, I was part of that, and this sort of brought that up for me. It's disturbing. And I certainly remember Kent State, so it's.
4 years ago, this past Saturday. Yeah, SUNY Purchase, experienced a similar thing at the same time frame, but has since gotten like better developments, with their president, and that's interesting. And
what does that mean, better development?
So it's not like they can just be like, oh, we're going to divest, but they're like, yeah, we're getting the information, we're working on it, that conversation happened right away after the raid. So it's just very interesting watching the other, our sister SUNY basically.
Well, what was discussed this morning at Town Gown is that President Wheeler was the only president to speak with protesters in an encampment in person.
Oh yeah. And, and definitely respect that for sure. I think that might be a beacon of hope. But yeah, and I wish I had my thoughts in order more about exactly what the advances that have been made at Purchase were, but it was May 3rd. They got some demands met.
I think this was also discussed at Town Gown. The only demand that our local university could consider addressing is amnesty. none of the other demands are in their purview.
Well, that means going to Albany, talking to the
Chancellor.
And those kids need amnesty. Like, nothing should be held against them for expressing themselves. And I mean, that's part of the learning experience.
Exactly.
You know, and you know, I have been arrested for civil disobedience. I was one of 199 people arrested blockading the Holland Tunnel after the Casey decision, which is an abortion case. And I've done anti-war protests and other stuff as well. We need to do some healing and listening and helping those kids to not have repercussions at school, and to get, you know, help getting the healing and I mean, this has been traumatic for everyone. I wasn't there when people were getting arrested, and I'm traumatized. I mean, I got home and I saw the helicopters and I was like, oh my God, there's a helicopter, which I was hearing and seeing, and I mean, beyond, the whole thing is beyond. So yeah, we got to find out more information. We got to see what it is we can do to help foster healing and understanding, and more than anything as well, I mean, that's super important, but like making sure this never happens again.
So how can we make that ask in like an organized way, maybe, like, you know, because I think it is our duty to understand like the emergency response, like chain of command here in some ways, like have just at least some clarity, you know, because things did not unfold the same way that they did, you know, for example, with the water crisis, you know what I mean? Like it just wasn't anything I've seen in any of our documents about emergencies, you know, like, so I feel like I can't do as good of a job leading without fully understanding like those steps.
Yeah.
You know, and what makes it when, like, why do things go in a different order, you know, a different chain of command in that situation than, you know, in other emergency situations, you know, like now this is like the third like major emergency, you know, like under my belt in office, like with the water crisis, with COVID, and now we had like this, like, you know, the second student like intifada, like ambushed by the state, you know, like what happened and why was that different, you know, and if we can get that clarity, I feel like I would be able to do a better job here for when the next emergency happens, because it's inevitable.
One thing you can count on.
Yeah.
So I'm not hearing any action item other than our discussion, and maybe we need to get more information from everyone. Maybe something will happen at the state level.
And
You
then
know, maybe one could be hopeful, I suppose.
I think following up with the
What's
police,
that?
I think following up with the police and getting an actual report would be good.
you know, I'm the liaison to the police commission. I'll be at the next police commission meeting. I spent about an hour on the phone with our current chief discussing it. I will report back everything I can. And I think it's important that our action items are to continue to dig and get information as much as we can. And at some point, perhaps, you know, we can help with the community healing and host something, but we need to look at that and see what that looks like and continue to discuss that. And I think that, you know, if we can help hold space for folks to listen and process and find solutions together, that's a great thing that we can do.
Well, just, I think, maybe a little clarity on our New Paltz Police Department. they were part of the action, but didn't lead the action.
That is correct.
Yeah.
So when I spoke with Rob, our police chief, he explains to me the way different police agencies work is when one asks for aid, you assist, you do that. And that's where that came from. I mean, they made a statement. I don't know how much beyond that I can add at this point. I haven't had a chance to sit down with everything and, but I will as soon as I possibly can. If there's anything that I have to add, I will add it. And I think that Tuesday we'll have the police commission meeting, and we'll hear more then, and I'll report back on that. And then I'd like us to continue having this conversation and seeing if we want to host a conversation or go to be part of a conversation that someone else hosts.
Is someone going to contact state and ask, because their role is so critical. Yeah.
You guys can decide what you want on the town board, and we can decide what we want to do as well.
I think that's a missing piece of information.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, Bill
already has, so I
I
guess.
reached out and I'll try my contact again. I'm not optimistic.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
He got very quiet on the phone.
Yeah.
I did explain to him that, we're getting lots of feedback from the community directly to the village board.
Yeah.
We need some answers here. Tactics, chronologically what happened.
Yes.
Is this, standard operating procedure, all those sorts of things.
Yeah.
Right.
And all these, that seems to be the biggest community concern at this point. Now, just a technical thing, maybe you guys know this, but, and certainly not a great thing, but my understanding is trespassing charges are typically dismissed for certain cases, particularly for students. I don't know if you've heard anything along those lines versus those who do not belong on campus. So if you hear anything,
I will reach out to, I'm going to write a letter to our DA, Ulster County DA, Manny Nagy, and I will share what I get back.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want, I can CC everybody, like whatever you want.
Yeah, that'd be good, because that's been a question people have been asking me is, they are asking for trespassing to be dismissed, and
I have
some
a
other
good
thing
relationship.
to happen with those that are not authorized to be on campus.
Exactly. How
Yeah.
can you trespass
On your own
own
campus.
home?
I don't know. Yeah. So I will reach out to Manny. I haven't been at my best, so I haven't been able to do everything the way I wanted to do. But I will do that tomorrow.
All right, so to be continued, we'll circle back when we have more
Yep.
information to share and for, additional discussion points to address.
Yes.
Okay.
Executive
I'm gonna,
session.
I move that we go into executive session to discuss applicants regarding specific employment.
Second.